So I am now at the kitchen table with Dan Crossley from the Food Ethics Council. So Dan, could you explain a little bit about your role at the Food Ethics Council?
Sure. So I lead the small team at Food Ethics Council. We're all about bringing people together from different parts of the food system to try to unblock the really tricky ethical issues that are out there. Everything from how do we move away from needing to rely on food banks through to should we eat lab-grown meat in the future and everything in between.
And what would a typical day look like?
For me, we've got a really small team. We work remotely, so a lot. My son would tell you, my 12-year-old would tell you that my work consists of lots of Zoom calls and emails, which is true. I do there's a lot of time online, but obviously getting out there, talking to people who are working, trying to create positive change in the food system. So we do a lot of that, bringing, whether it's around policy or people working in at the grassroots in communities or other NGOs and people that are essentially trying to shift our food system from what it is at the moment to something that is much fairer for people, planet, and animals. So yeah, so the day to day is a mix of engaging people, influencing, organising events, speaking at things, getting out there, trying to promote people to think and act differently.
And last year at Groundswell, you were chairing a panel that I was on about how we can link farmers with community food hubs.
Yes.
Is that an area of work that you're still involved in?
Yeah, we've always been interested in, how do we make connections between people, food citizens, and communities. How do we get them more interested, excited about food, including, crucially, obviously connecting with farmers. We're always interested in that connection piece, and how do we make sure that we move away from that idea that lots of consumers are very disconnected from their food, where it comes from, and feel as though we've got no power. So we want to connect the people with the power that we have got to change things for the better.
And in January, I was on a panel with your colleague Beth on the right to food at the Oxford Real Farming Conference. Can you talk a little bit about the work that you're doing around the right to food?
Yeah, so the right to food is both hugely simple and hugely complicated at the same time. The principle of it is hopefully easy to grasp, but once you get into the nuance of it, it does get really complicated and messy. But I mean, what we're trying to do is make the right to food a powerful lever for change, because it can be kind of co-opted, it can be kind of taken by lots of different people, and can mean lots of different things. So all we want to do is bring some people together who are trying to use the right to food for positive effect, and try and use our skills of convening and getting people to think about what this might mean for different groups, so that hopefully in the future right to food can be something that is enshrined in legislation in the UK, and that people ultimately, that everyone has access to good, nutritious, healthy, sustainable food, which is obviously a long way from where we're at the moment.
Could you quantify that? Would you like to say how far away we actually are
from getting a right to food?
Yeah.
I mean, people who are more expert in the technicalities than me, we might say we're 5 or 10 years away from, in reality, getting this in the UK level. So it's a long process, but I do think it's massively important, and almost regardless of whether this ends up in legislation, it's more the principle of this idea that everyone should be able to afford and have access to proper good food. It's, as you know very well from your work, what the stats, 1 in 5 people are food insecure in the UK at the moment. So and we know all the big impacts that industrial food can have on communities and on the environment. So we need to change that, and so we need to be looking at different mechanisms, whether it's about free school meals or public diners. There's a whole load of ideas out there that could play a part in getting more people, getting everyone ultimately having access to good, proper food.
So just following on from that, what in your mind, what does a right to food actually look like in 5 to 10 years' time? What will it look like for somebody who is struggling to buy food at the moment?
I mean, I think it will mean that, in practice, it'll mean that someone who is currently struggling to be able to afford to buy food, and at the moment who in reality hasn't got many options, in lots of cases, that they have options, that they've got the ability and agency, and that their support government is doing more, and other organisations too, to ensure that they can access, they can go to, they've got more choice over where they go, they've got better options available to them, rather than having to rely on, often at the moment, very well meaning, but charitable food aid. So it might be the end of food banks as we know it, and it might be, I would hope that we get rid of that 2-tier or even 3-tier society we've got at the moment, so people can have the dignity that everyone should have. I say this as someone speaking from a position of privilege. I grew up never having to worry about there being enough food on my plate, so I recognise that. And yeah, I've always been, very hard to put yourself in the shoes of people and not pretending I can, that are struggling. But I'm very mindful about that many people are struggling. So we need to be able to change the dynamic and give people that connection, that power that lots of people currently have.
Because I think like food banks have become that go-to solution to food poverty, and
it's just, it's a sticking plaster. People talk about that. There's some amazing people, volunteering and working in this space, and you know some of them, and not in any way challenging what they're doing, because they're trying to do something really positive. But it's that, we did some work over 10 years ago now about the risk of food banks and other charitable food aid becoming really entrenched in following what's happened in parts of the US, and that's sadly lots of that's becoming a reality. So we need to kind of step back, unpick that, and try and channel that energy in a better direction.
And just finally, before we finish, I just wanted to know where did your food journey start? Because you've been 10 years at the Food Ethics Council?
Something like 13 years now.
13 years, right.
Yeah. So my story briefly is, I've been involved in the food world for about 20 years. And I managed to combine a passion. I've always had a passion and interest in justice and in food, and managed to combine the two, which is, again, I count myself very lucky to be able to do the job I do. I guess 20 years ago, I, for a short time, worked in the food sector, so I worked for a food company. And I think it was then that I was an accountant by trade then, so I didn't have a long career path planned ahead of me. I was just happened to work for a food company, and I kind of saw the realities of what happens with production lines and food company, and thought this just doesn't feel right. I might not be able to solve all that myself, but I wanted to do something that tried to change that, so that we move away from this conveyor belt of often rubbish food that's only accessible to some people. Hence shifted in the last 20 years I've worked in a couple of different roles, but in this space of how do we harness power for good. And we talk about change food, change the world. If food has massive impacts on the environment, on communities, on inequality, on health, on nature, then we change food, change the world. And that's what brought me in, that sense of wanting to do something good, not from not think that I'm somehow got all the answers, or that I'm here to be a do-gooder. It's just that desire to, I guess my geography roots originally, desire to want the world to be a bit better, and want everyone to be able to access and enjoy some of the things I've been very lucky to enjoy myself.
And what is it now about your work that makes you want to get out of bed in the morning?
Yeah, it's a good question. Having been in this been in this world for 20 years, I'm still. I think the problems haven't gone away. I guess I see there's some positive energy on which to build, I guess is the positive bit. So things like windy here, but there are some there's lots of prevailing winds coming against us, but actually there are generally some real pockets of brilliant things happening. There are some pockets of brilliant things happening, and I just want to play a very small part in trying to help some of those good things to flourish.
Thank you so much, and thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you.